It's interesting to see the damage control that people are doing in regards to the current situation at Capcom, Square Enix, and what was the other company? There was some other major third party. But anyway, the major Japanese third party studios, all of them are losing a bunch of money. They have been for a long time. And the thing that everyone loves to do whenever they notice this, like, oh, it's because of woke culture, it's because of the SJWs, it's because of ESG pandering, it's because of this and that, it's because of
I'll just save you now before this gets too loud and too annoying. While I do agree I am tired of hearing the word woke every 5 seconds, there might be a little of a pattern here. Not that Harmon Smith had looked into it. Harmon Smith being the man we're talking about today, and an absolute insane Nintendo fanboy. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you would like to, subscribe to stick around, like if you like it, dislike if you dislike it, and let me know in the comments what I can do to improve on the content, because getting the engagement really helps the channel grow, the videos get out to more people, and I can get more feedback on what I can do to improve and become, more entertaining. So what is he referencing here that he doesn't ever cite a source on, or he doesn't ever, maybe a tweet, if anything at all, doesn't do that one time. He just, talks and talks. Recently, a lot of games, specifically from those publishers and developers that he noted, have just been absolute garbage. They've been flopping pretty hard. Not to say that all of them are, but there have been a majority, and people started to notice a pattern. This company, Sweet Baby Inc., which I will have a video on that up top, who is pretty much spearheaded and employing a bunch of bigots and actual racists to meet quotas on equality, which is very shallow in my opinion, have basically been pushing a bunch of stuff into games. And the, threatening management types of stuff, they're very evil and undermining people. They're not really very cool people as they like to present themselves, but a lot of games have gone down this as a result of mismanagement and collaborations like this. Really does reflect in user scores, specifically if we're going to be talking about Forspoken. Yeah. Oh, if not anything with this pattern, because I have to just assume here, then what exactly is he referencing? What is the real reason, Harmon?
The real reason they don't buy the games is because they're not available on the market leader, Nintendo Switch. Third parties around and found out.
That's right. That's what he just said. Third parties found, and they found out pretty hard. Now, what is he referencing here that he doesn't ever cite? Once again, because this is a reoccurring theme with Harmon Smith, that someone's the market leader. What does he cite? Absolutely nothing. And if you go ahead and take a quick Google search, currently, as of Q3 2023, Sony is the market leader in console sales, followed up by Nintendo and then Microsoft. Microsoft's been having a rough generation, to say the very least. Now, if he was talking about this nice little stat of lifetime versus 2023 in terms of sales, then he would be absolutely correct. But this isn't at all relevant to what he's saying. He doesn't ever reference lifetime. And I have to assume he's referencing currently. And that would be assuming that all games that are currently out right now should be running on all Nintendo consoles or platforms, etc., which is just not fucking humanly possible. Now, I am aware that was Q3 2023, but that's the most recent data that I could actually pull, and that's just a quick Google. Be upfront with you right now, and you may not like this, but it's just the way it is. So this way my video doesn't go on for like 20 minutes. I'm going to be doing some snipping, but I will elaborate on what he's saying and rambling on about and yapping about for the next 20 minutes, because it's pretty much useless information when he talks about comparing old generations to new generations, and then saying that games journalism was corrupt and is still corrupt, which is something I do agree with, even though I do not agree with everything Harmon has to say. Perfect example being Alyssa Mercanti. After the whole Sweet Baby Inc. situation, she decided to play activist and victim and wrote a whole article pretending she was Batman or some fucking stupid shit. She proceeded to go into a quote, infiltrate a Discord server full of random people who just happen to like video games and just didn't like the way their games that they've liked for a while are just going down the shitter, and they're tired of it. So she was asking for full names, insinuating that she was going to start publishing full names, addresses, etc., and it was just a big fucking nothing burger. It was useless. Everything that she's written is pretty much useless. And she compared Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC to her life because she faces misogyny and racism. Spoiler, literally everyone does all the time. You are not a video game character. Stop trying to be special.
Right? That is what's happening, is that the industry has finally woken up and realized that, like, the Nintendo hardware is superior.
Pretty sure your jaw just dropped to the fucking floor like mine just did. That's right, full conviction. He just said that Nintendo hardware is superior. That's what the industry is realizing. Whatever the hell that means. I'm not even going to elaborate on the idea that maybe he's referencing the PS5 and Xbox Series models. We're going to be referencing the 2013 Xbox One and PS4 base models, because that's even what's even conceivable at the moment. 17 mobile hardware, which is also shortcutted and probably using something cheaper in it than just what just came out of 2017. And I believe, if I'm correct, it was 2015 chipsets for the Nintendo Switch being used. Okay, that's the point of a platform like that. It's supposed to be mobile, easy to afford, just like the two consoles were supposed to be. That's what consoles are there for, especially with the new generation being so good in price performance compared to PCs as well currently. Quick Google search and comparing the stats, maybe frame rates, hardware in general, just comparing these in every single fucking conceivable way could be able to tell you that they don't run at all the same. Games from the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4 don't run that well without a bunch of shortcuts, and I mean an absolute shitload of them on the Nintendo Switch. Doom Eternal, I feel like, is a pretty good example, right? Doom Eternal runs well on the Nintendo Switch, but you can, even in docked mode, even with more power, you're going to notice, hey, they cut a lot of corners here. There's a lot of dynamic resolution. Textures are turned all the way fucking down to below what I can even pull out from my PC, right? It's mobile hardware. Developers had to make it that way. And the running joke is that Doom runs on everything, so naturally they decided to double down on it and grab some extra sales, which is not a big deal. But he goes on to complain that all games aren't coming to, Nintendo Switch, which, dear Christ, they're not going to fucking run. Look at Mortal Kombat 11. It looks like dog shit. No one wants it there.
Games that would have bombed on any other platform are huge on Nintendo Switch, right? We have Xenoblade, we have Fire Emblem, we have, like, Pikmin, right? Metroid is bigger than it's ever been, right? And it's just gonna keep escalating from here.
Everything he just listed, I'm being dead fucking serious, only releases primarily on Nintendo platforms. Well, is specifically, I guess the exception is Pikmin, right? Pikmin had a mobile game. Well, whoop-de-fucking do. He has no point of reference. He has no citation. He has no simulation. He has nothing to analyze the data on what he's saying. He's just saying shit. This is a reoccurring thing with him. And, it's not just him, but fanboys specifically. Now, to be a fanboy, especially as an adult, is kind of weird. I'm not going to lie to you, because they just throw all logic out the window. I'm looking at Xbox, PlayStation fanboys. There's some people who just throw all fucking logic out the window for PCs, and they just fucking love their computers so much they say stupid shit like this.
Like, people have this delusional mindset of, like, Nintendo's gonna fall off by the next console. The next console isn't gonna be anywhere near as Hey, genius. Nintendo is an established brand now. You are never going to be able to convince people that Nintendo is going to go out of business.
Do you have a source? Does he cite anything? Does he have a clip of someone saying it? Does he have a bunch of comments saying it right now in this video? Does he have maybe a tweet to put in the video? Does he edit anything in? Absolutely not. He makes no references. He doesn't pull up any names, nothing. Classic, Harmon and fanboy move. That's just what they do. So basically, it's just non-existent arguments that he's made up in his head, and then he thought to himself, damn, I'm going to go make a video now. And I saw this clip of him saying that someone on 4chan was yelling at him about, people on 4chan were yelling at him about Breath of the Wild or some shit, which, first of all, who the fuck is using 4chan? That's the weirdest shit you could have been using and then openly admitting. And second of all, isn't that like an anonymous forum? So you had to interact with someone. There's no, like, username that you're giving. It's someone had to say something. You interacted with them, and then you got clapped back at.
People complain about the horsepower for the Switch. Yeah, because having more powerful hardware is more expensive.
No fucking shit. But if we're referencing prices of things, let's go ahead and look at the Nintendo Switch. The base model, $299.99. Okay, all right. That's it's mobile hardware. They've made some shortcuts. They've put some things in there not all the platforms have. We're referencing hardware here and pure power, though, right? That's what we're going for. The Xbox Series S is also $299. What the fuck are we talking about?
right? Like people complain about like the Joy-Cons. Yeah. Nintendo has created an ecosystem that is simultaneously a traditional video game platform and a handheld with motion controls, right? Like I remember growing up being told, like screamed at near constantly, that nobody loves motion controls, nobody likes motion controls.
I highly doubt some random guy just walked up to you as like a fucking 9-year-old and grabbed you by the shoulders, started shaking you violently, and like looking at you like, no one likes motion controls. No one, no. Like I doubt that. But judging by what I've figured out by your behavior online, you probably pissed someone off or said something one way or another, and then just said something absolutely fucking ridiculous, like you have here. Now let's break this into a couple parts. We're still talking about the Nintendo Switch hardware, again, not comparable to what's current. Then he goes on to elaborate. People complain about the Joy-Cons, and then they talk about the ecosystem, right? Now, you have to acknowledge you just did it. Motion controls on other things, and it's a mobile platform, so shortcuts are going to be made. So why even make the comparison of horsepower? Why even say the hardware is better? It's statistically not at all, and that's just the reality. That's fine. That's part of the platform of choice. It's easier for people who aren't maybe hardcore into video games or just don't know about them, not around them as much, maybe older people, kids, etc., to get into because it's more interactive in a more physical sense rather than just using a controller, which is also fine. Then we talk about the ecosystem of Nintendo, right? Nintendo has a long history of fucking people over royally. If we're going to talk about maybe the internet connection, I guess the service you could call it of Nintendo Online or whatever the fuck it's called compared to the other platforms, you have to use your phone on at the same time as your Switch with an account to talk to someone or use voice chat or whatever. What the fuck? First of all, that's not even on the fucking table. Second of all games are like $60 all of the time unless you buy used. And the people who resell that shit are fucking a pain in my fucking ass. Because I couldn't find a fucking copy of Mario Party less than $50 fucking dollars because everyone assumes that it's significantly more expensive because Nintendo has kept their fucking prices up for God knows how long. Incredibly predatory practices aside, we're going to get into the idea that the Joy-Cons are just, they're replaceable, guys. If they break, they just buy more. You can only really get Joy-Cons from Nintendo, and you can only really get them for a while, as third parties didn't really work that well. Third-party docks tended to just brick your fucking Switch or not work at all. Nothing's really compatible. It's a little weird. All right, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to keep this shorter and I'm going to cut this part out. But he goes on a nonsensical rant about Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter Rise and 3 being on Nintendo platforms. Not a big deal, right? And he references some people being upset about the game Monster Hunter World not being on the Switch. And let me ask you something. Have you seen Monster Hunter? Do you really think that's going to run on someone's fucking cell phone? So, I mean, it finally comes out. What he really wants becomes very apparent.
Again, what exactly does Monster Hunter Wilds do that makes it impossible to run on Nintendo Switch? What does Elden Ring do that makes it impossible to run on Nintendo Switch, right? What does Baldur's Gate 3 do? What does Street Fighter 6 do? What does Tekken 8 do? Like, what do any of these games do that makes them completely impossible to run on Nintendo hardware? The answer is nothing, right? If Nintendo is the market leader, if it's the console that people are actually playing, these companies should be releasing all of their games on Nintendo hardware first.
The truth finally comes out. It's very apparent that he just wants all those games coming out on the, quote, market leader because that's just the way it is. Even though he's acknowledged multiple times that they made shortcuts and it's a mobile platform and they have, Joy-Cons and shit. All this stupid shit. I mean, what do you mean by what does Elden Ring do different? What is fucking Baldur's Gate 3? Have you seen those fucking games? Are you out of your fucking mind? The AA batteries in your tablet for your Nintendo Switch are going to burst into 1,000 fucking suns if you even consider the idea of running those on those platforms, even if it was way lower on graphic fidelity. They're fucking huge. Elden Ring's render distance? Are you fucking serious? Have you seen the backdrop for that game? I got a little uppity about that, but that was just fucking wow. Holy shit. Does he go on to elaborate on what he means by that? Does he bring up any good examples? Maybe the Nintendo Switch runs 8K and I just don't fucking understand it. But you don't need to run, Elden Ring on PC had issues, optimization issues at the very least, but some people struggle to run it at 1080p 60. What makes you think the full fucking rig plugged into a power socket in the wall is going to at all compete with a fucking tablet. What? All right, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you did enjoy the video, I highly recommend liking and subscribing to stick around. Like if you like it, dislike it. And let me know in the comments what I can do better, what you liked, feedback, things like that. Just the engagement in general gets the content out to more people, and I can get more feedback, and I grow the channel, etc., etc. I get better at doing this. Thank you for watching all the way through. And this has been a fucking mindfuck. Holy shit. See ya.